What's up, y'all? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden. This episode, we're going to be talking about Afghanistan. And, as you guys know, we're withdrawing from the country, allegedly. But I'd like to talk to you about how the Taliban has insisted that they will seek no revenge on Afghanis who worked with the U.S. government and the U.S. military when they were occupying the country. And then I'm going to make a point at the end of the video that really a lot of this is moot. What we really need to do is make sure we have robust, asylum-seeking systems in place for refugees from Afghanistan. So if they choose to leave the country because they fear the Taliban, they can. But remember, guys, the Taliban isn't as... the Afghani people don't reject the Taliban as much as American propagandists want you to think. So there are some people that would still stay there knowing that the Taliban will take over and that will be their government afterwards. So, remember that. Take that into consideration. It's not that the Taliban's going to come in and everybody that lives there is against them being in rule again. Everybody would agree, all Afghanis would agree, that the Taliban being in control is better than U.S. occupation staying. Okay? So, and also, I want to apologize. I know I look like shit today. I'm not really as sick as I thought I was. I had a fever for about a day and a half. The reason my eyes look so bad is because I'm really high. Yeah. So let's talk about Afghanistan and do the news. I'm going to read to you here from Jake Johnson of Common Dreams, and this will kind of give you an idea of what's happening. It's kind of long, but rather than give you my own spin on it, I'm just going to read to you here from Common Dreams, and then we'll talk about what I think we should do and how we can avoid this, debacle. There's an option for every Afghani, whether they want the Taliban government and they don't mind staying in the country, or they can leave the country and seek asylum elsewhere, as long as the United States gives them that second option, which is what I think we should do. So here's Jake Johnson. During their press conference since retaking control of Afghanistan, Taliban representatives on Tuesday vowed not to seek retribution against fellow Afghans who worked with U.S. occupation forces and said the new government will respect the rights of women, with the caveat that they must adhere to the group's interpretation of Sharia law. Quote, "Whoever has worked in the military, in translation, we have given amnesty to everybody. There is no revenge," Taliban spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid said from the capital of Kabul as the U.S. resumed evacuation flights for Americans and some Afghans who worked with the U.S. forces, which have been in the country since the disastrous 2001 invasion. Quote, "We have given amnesty to everybody. We want them to give us forgiveness." Taliban officials are currently in talks to form a government following the swift collapse of the U.S.-backed regime headed by former President Ashraf Ghani, who fled the country as Taliban fighters advanced on Kabul over the weekend. Mujahid said on Tuesday that women, quote, "should be in the government structure according to Sharia law," adding that women are a very important part of our society and should be able to work and go to school. "If Afghan women, quote, continue to live according to Sharia, we will be happy. They will be happy." Medea Benjamin, co-founder of the women-led anti-war group Code Pink, noted that Mujahid qualified his expressions of support for women's rights as, quote, "within the framework of Sharia norms." And there's the rub, Benjamin said. How will that be interpreted? During the Taliban's previous stint in power between 1996 and 2001, Al Jazeera reported women could not work, girls were not allowed to attend school, and women had to cover their face and be accompanied by a male relative if they wanted to venture out of their homes. Women who broke the rules sometimes suffered humiliation and public beatings by the Taliban's religious police under the group's ultra-strict interpretation of Islamic law. Benjamin also responded skeptically to Mujahid's vow of no revenge against Afghans who worked with the U.S. and the former government, while describing the comments as a positive signal. Quote, "Taliban spokesperson is saying that all Afghans, even those who worked with the U.S. and fought the Taliban, have amnesty and will not be harmed," she tweeted. "Can we believe this? I'm not sure, especially as there are many rogue elements of the Taliban. But this is great he is saying this." And the truth is, it is. That's great that this is happening. Whether we can believe it or not, I'm not sure. And that's why I think we should have a second option. If you don't believe them, if you think he's bluffing, then you should be able to seek asylum, and the United States should fund that and allow you to seek asylum in the United States. So that's what we'll talk about after this last part here. The press conference came as the U.S. military continued evacuation flights out of Kabul after they were briefly halted on Monday in an effort to clear the tarmac of people desperately attempting to flee Afghanistan, which has long been in a state of humanitarian crisis, with women and children disproportionately impacted. According to Brown University's Cost of War project, 3.2 million Afghans have been internally displaced since 2001, the year the U.S. invaded the country. During the 2 decades-long war, more than 47,000 Afghan civilians were killed, the Cost of War project estimates. And I talked about that. That also estimated that we spent $2.3 trillion there, and 241,000 people died. 241,000 people. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, said Tuesday that roughly 18 million people across Afghanistan are in urgent need of humanitarian assistance, and around a third of the country's children are expected to be severely malnourished this year. Quote, "Women and girls are paying the price of decades of failed U.S. policy," Marianne Williamson. Oh wait, I just added her in there. The global women's rights organization Madre said in a statement Monday, I'm talking to Marianne Williamson, who, if you guys don't know anything, recently advocated for staying in Afghanistan because of how the Taliban treats women badly, basically saying that I'm using feminism as an argument for imperialism. She got savaged for that. Anyway, that's why I'm making fun of her. From the earliest days of the U.S. war in Afghanistan, women's rights justifications were conscripted to rally support. Instead, the U.S. trained and funded armed groups in Afghanistan that have committed atrocities, including terrible violence against women. In its efforts to defeat the Taliban, the U.S. allied itself with warlords, many of whom came to hold prominent government positions and continued to violate rights with impunity, the group added. Ultimately, the U.S. spent almost 1,000 times more money on its military intervention than on women's rights efforts. During a briefing on Tuesday, UNICEF's Mustafa Ben Mossad said he is quite optimistic that humanitarian aid will continue to be distributed in Afghanistan, noting that, quote, "We have not had a single issue with the Taliban at UNICEF field offices in the country." So, like I said, you guys, the answer here for us as a country and for the Biden administration is to offer refugees the option of coming to our country or getting transported to a country where they can seek asylum if they are in fact worried about the Taliban taking over. But the U.S. narrative here that the Taliban is really horrible, that might be true, but a lot of the most of the Afghanis there would still prefer Taliban rule and Sharia law to the U.S. occupation. So it's costing us trillions of dollars, and they don't want us there. Even the people that do fear the Taliban still don't want us there. So we need to just, we're leaving. I want us to leave entirely. I don't want us to keep CIA-backed counterterrorism ops there. I don't want them to be there at all. So we'll see what Joe Biden actually does. But the argument that we have to stay there because women get treated badly by the Taliban, or that Afghani people will get treated badly by the Taliban, they're telling us they won't. I'm not sure if I believe them. Some of these people probably do, but they need to be given the option to stay there if they want to. The Taliban is saying they're not going to seek revenge, and if they think they are being bluffed by the Taliban, we need to give them the option to get out of the country. That's as easy as it gets, and Biden's not doing jack shit on that. Same thing with Haiti. We're still deporting to Haiti, even though they're in political upheaval and they just had to suffer through tropical storms and an earthquake. A 7.2 on the Richter scale. The Biden administration is absolutely sad on stuff like this. So, the Taliban is vowing no revenge. It remains to be seen if that actually is what's going to happen. Like it said here, there's many rogue sects of the Taliban that may or may not agree with that, what they're saying, what the leaders are saying right now. But it's a good show of faith that they're even saying it. We should just fucking leave and give any of the Afghani people who truly think that they're lying, that they're bluffing about no revenge, the option to just leave and live a life of dignity in another country where they can seek asylum. This is not hard, yet everybody seems to make it hard. The right makes it hard. Neoliberals especially make it hard. And these faux-gressives make it ultra complicated. giving Biden all this extra credit on shit that he's not doing. It's fucking sickening. Kyle Kalinske especially moving so much towards the TYTs of the world in his coverage of this shit. It's really quite sickening. It really is. The anti-imperialist left is doing very well on YouTube right now, though, which makes me happy. So I'll keep an eye on what's going on in Afghanistan for you guys as best I can. We will see if Joe Biden actually pulls out. Methinks that he will probably offer some sort of refugee status to Afghani people, but who knows? Who knows? He may not. He may just kind of do what he's doing now, which is do the sloppiest fucking pullout ever, shine the world's biggest spotlight on it, so that next time he has to be pushed towards leaving another country, he has something to look back on and show you guys and be like, no, we can't leave Syria, or we can't leave Somalia. Remember how bad it was in Afghanistan? No, we can't leave. It was chaos. They kind of want it to be chaos, because then they have something to, show you in the future as a reason to not leave these countries, which is just an argument for permanent occupation. So we'll see what Biden actually does. His deadline was August 31st, so less than 2 weeks. We'll see if he actually goes through with it. Methinks he will continue to kind of privatize it and keep the CIA there hush-hush and put a bunch of mercenaries there. But I hope I'm wrong. I really do. So keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. I'll talk to you later.